Come on.
Unsyndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
What's up? He's Shep. I'm Sean. How you doing? Shep, great to see you again, my friend.
You too, buddy.
A fantastic, I'm sure you watched it, a fantastic retirement ceremony. How's that?
Yeah, I always worry about those things that they get too long and they're too rehearsed. But I thought Fedorov did a really good job. You could feel the love that those guys have for one another, and you could feel the appreciation I think that Fedorov has, not just for Detroit, for the Red Wings, and he, as you mentioned, the slight regret. So it's really cool, Sean, to see some of the greatest players in the history of that sport, definitely in our generation, on the ice at the same time honoring that guy. Think about it for a second. How fortunate we were. You and I covered those teams when you had Yzerman and Lidstrom. You had guys like Chelios and Murphy and Shanahan and Fedorov. Those are some of the greatest, not just in Red Wings history. They're some of the greatest players in hockey history. And we should feel really proud and very fortunate to be able to have that. So I hope everybody felt the same way.
He was incredible. I mean, he really was.
How do you describe him?
It's hard to. It really is, because, look, am I going to call him one of the greats of the game? No, I think that's going too far. Am I going to call him one of the most complete players in the game? Absolutely, I am. And I have no hesitation saying that. And Keith Gave brought up an important point that maybe people in our generation won't forget, but maybe people in today's generation don't understand. Scotty Bowman asked him to go back and play defense, and he played defense, and he excelled at playing defense. And it's so much so that people, not just his coaches, but his contemporaries, were saying, oh my goodness gracious, this is the type of guy, if he kept doing this, he'd probably win a Norris Trophy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's Yzerman mentioned that during his speech too. So, our friend Darren McCarty says, he was as good at skating backwards as he was forwards. And look, one of the greats of all time. Okay, that might be a little hyperbolic. I don't know, man. When you win an MVP during that era, you win a couple of Selkies, and you win 3 cups, and you're in the Hall of Fame. You're probably in the conversation. That doesn't mean he was a top 10 player of all time, but he is one of the greats of our generation, I think.
He is. And it's funny because, I think you and I are kind of cut from the same cloth. I think sometimes in our earnestness to be caught in the moment, people want to, I don't know, throw accolades on there that won't matter. But I have no hesitation saying he's one of the most dynamic players I've ever seen. When you have a guy that is committed to playing both ends of the ice the way that he was, that has a special place in your heart. I think he showed the offensive flair, obviously the 5-goal game and all of that. And as he made reference to, I still, for the life of me, can't figure out what happened that night. And we were doing ice time, Shep, at the time, and Pat Brisson was on, and I'll never forget, listening to him, and we were looking at each other going, he's gone. He's gone. I was working with our mutual friend, Greg Brady.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason,
you stayed on through the night, I believe.
We did. Yeah. We stayed out, after midnight, we had Pat Brisson on it, and you knew he all but said he was gone. And it's funny because Keith Gave says that maybe a little of that came from his dad. Maybe a little of that came from his agent, whatever the case may be. But, at the time they kind of thought, well, maybe it's best if we just move on, so to speak.
Yeah, look, there are certain times, I think, in yours and my broadcasting career where a story is as big as it's as big nationally as it is locally.
Mm-hmm.
The accident was one of those.
Oh,
Okay. And I think not just because it was Sergei Fedorov, but because they had supposedly done the right thing, right? And then when you say he's gone, it could mean that, he was also gone to Carolina.
mm-hmm.
And that was a massive deal because of the ripple effects, because of the supposed feud between a couple of owners, and because it tore up a fan base. I mean, you took more phone calls about it because you were the only person in the entire city, with probably Brady, who were talking hockey, because you guys can talk so eloquently about it. When we hear people say today, I want people who want to be here. At the time, Sean, there were a lot of people questioning whether he wanted to be here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Time cures all ills, right? And that's fortunately for him and for the organization and for all of us. I think that's exactly what's happened now. So, and as Raymond says, which number goes up next, 13 or 40? Somebody asked me that on Twitter, and I said, I'd love to see them go up together.
Mm-hmm.
No franchise would ever do that because it gets an opportunity to have two sellouts instead of one.
Yeah.
And it probably takes away from one person's opportunity, but they sure seem linked to me.
I agree.
I would love to see that. Our friend Darren McCarty was on my show this morning, and when I asked him about that, he said, what I'd like to do? I'd like to take one thing at a time first, and let's work on getting Chris Osgood into the Hall of Fame.
Amen to that.
With 401 wins. How that's not happened so far is beyond me. I hope the organization is doing things to try and, help that along. It seems odd to me that you'd have that many Hall of Famers from one organization in that era who don't have a more powerful voice to help make it happen. But I think it should happen. And I hope that's next.
Couldn't agree anymore. I watched the guy change his style. And I will say this until my dying breath, Shep. I think sometimes we forget when we're caught up in the hoopla of winning. They do not win in 2008 without Chris Osgood. And I mean, no disrespect to Hank. In my mind, there was no other choice for the Conn Smythe Trophy than Chris Osgood.
I think you're right. Would that have mattered? Is that enough to push somebody's envelope in a different direction while voting?
I think it should. I do. You know what? You don't have to take my word for it. And I don't think David Legwan would have an issue with me saying this. He told me that Nashville, after coming back and tying that series in the first round, he said, we had them. We had Dominik Hasek. We had them. They put in Chris Osgood, and Chris Osgood absolutely shut us down. And Shep, if you remember, he went and won 9 straight games. He won those last 2 against Nashville. They swept Colorado in the second round, and they took the first 3 games from Dallas. It was an incredible run, by a guy that, let's face it, at the time legitimately was a backup goaltender. He had changed his style. He morphed into the butterfly, and I don't think that gets enough credit personally. I really truly don't. And
didn't have the big name, Sean. Didn't have the big name. I'm sure his persona didn't help him, and the constant articles about a baby-faced goalie. And let's face it, everybody said, look at the game or look at the team he played behind.
Right.
For some reason, they never said that about Dominik Hasek.
Yeah.
For some reason, they never said that. And this is not a knock on any of these guys because they're among the greatest of all time. They never said it about Brodeur. They never said it about Waugh. I mean, when Patrick Waugh's winning rings in Colorado, were those good teams in front of him? You could probably rattle off every single skater, all 25 of them. I can name quite a few. They were awesome players. So I don't know why, for some reason, that is relegated to Chris Osgood and seemingly no other great goalies of that time. It sure didn't hurt Grant Fuhrer, and his ability to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. So it's troubling to me, and it's frustrating, to be honest.
I think if you wanted to say that about 98, I'd hear that argument. Okay, because and it's because of what happened the year before with Mike Vernon.
Sure.
If you wanted to say that about 08, I don't hear that argument. I'm sorry. As good as that team was, and they were. I mean, people forget they were number one all year. Okay, they were in deep trouble in that first round series. And again, don't take my word for it. Don't take Shep's word for it. Take David Legwan's word for it, who was playing for Nashville. And he told me point blank, he goes, man, when they put Osgood in, gosh damn it, that was our chance, you know, and it's unfortunate. Let me get to some of these comments. How about those pregame white skates? Yeah, it was kind of
very cool.
It was kind of a flashback. I had a flashback there. This is a good question. I like this. Shep, if the Russian 5 happened today, would it have a bigger impact with social media today?
Yes.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. Any of these things, the Fab Five, the Flintstones, the Russian 5, all of it. Social media makes everything bigger.
It does.
Sometimes for worse, sometimes for better, but it makes everything bigger.
Most times for worse. Let's be honest.
Most times
for worse.
But absolutely. I mean, there would be, I think it would be 10 times, 50 times bigger, only because these days, what are we seeing? We're seeing all these statistics, what Josh Allen has done in his last 7 playoff games, how bad it's been for Pittsburgh in their last 8 playoff games. Things blow up, and then it just gets regurgitated. So without question, it would be bigger today than it ever was.
Ray said, would we have Ovechkin and Malkin if not for Fedorov coming over? It was different because the world was different and the Soviet Union was still a country.
Yeah.
You know, finally in the late 80s, if you remember, they allowed Makarov and Helmut Balderas, who was about 10 years past his prime, and Fetisov. They let some of the older guys go, but the younger guys, they were like, no, they're going to stay here. The Burres, the McGillney, Fedorov, and everything. So those are guys, you know, those are guys that had to quote unquote defect. I mean, they literally had to defect. Now, once the Soviet Union fell, then you saw more coming through. But Shep, I think people forget it was a big deal to see these former greats finally matriculate their way over to North America. And again, Helmut Balderas was a phenomenal hockey player.
Sorry, I don't remember him, Sean. Tell me.
He was Latvian, if I'm not mistaken. And I think by the time he came over, he was 38 years old. And if you remember Krutov, God rest his soul, he was already older and he was heavy. And then he came here, and I'm not making this up, Shep. I'm sure you know the stories. He fell in love with American hot dogs, and he just I knew you guys were going to do that to me.
That's why he didn't come to Detroit. Coney's. That was part of the contract. I don't know if people remember.
You can look this up. This is a true story. They had guys on the team tail him because he would go to 7-Elevens all the time and get like the big bite. And then when they would, I'm not making this up. I know you guys think I'm being mean. Okay. You can look this up. When he would go to the airport, when they were ready to fly out, he would say, you know, Krutov, go to bathroom. And he would go to the bathroom and he would get a couple hot dogs on the way and destroy them in the bathroom.
Are you trying to tell me that he and Gates Brown were kindred spirits? Because Gates Brown back in 68
little bit
had 2 hot dogs shoved in his jersey. Went out there and ran to second base. Yeah.
I'm just telling you the truth. So if you remember, those guys were like past their prime. And I mean, in Larionov's case, he continued to play for a while. Fetisov's case, he continued to play for a while. But all the younger guys, no, you're not going. You're not going. And you know, obviously some of them defected. And then when the Soviet Union fell, the gate opened and all that. But it was a weird time. I think, boy, didn't Makarov win the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year? He's like 31 years old or something.
Really,
yeah. It's kind of crazy.
If you put the best, this is hard to do.
All right.
But if you put the best 6, including the goaltender, the best 6 Canadian hockey players of all time, the best 6 Russian hockey players of all time, the best 6 Swedish hockey, you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Who do you think would have the best starting lineup?
I think it's Canada. I do. I Bobby Orr on defense, and you know what? Just for craps and giggles, for my own personal pleasure, I'll put Larry Robinson next to him.
Sure, right.
Mario Lemieux,
Wayne
Gretzky. You know what?
Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I was going to say for speed, let's use Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon. Just to say, okay, now we got a burner back there.
That means there's no Sidney Crosby.
Yes, which is disrespectful, and I feel awful about it. But that's the only reason I'm doing it, Shep, is to say now you got a pure burner on there. Yeah. And then I mean, you could take Brodeur, you could take Dryden, you could take Waugh. I still say Canada, although, boy, Tretiak and Fetisov.
Well, wait
a minute. I mean, there are a plethora.
You love Pavel Bure.
Gosh, what a rocket!
So you love.
You know what? Throw the KLM line out there. You know their famous line. Throw the KLM line out there. Krutov, Larionov, and Makarov. You know, I mean that's one of the most famous lines in hockey. You could just say, okay, here's the KLM line.
Yeah, that would Fedorov would be part of it. Fedorov.
Yeah, you could. Boy, that's a great question, Shep. That's a great question.
And for Team USA, where would Team USA begin and end?
I think you have to put Patrick Kane.
Okay, so it's Kane, Modano.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want some brute? If you want some brute, like a John LeClaire in his prime, could you imagine that? Like just being big old Marmaduke. On defense, you could go Chelios. I think Housley was underrated. I think Suter was underrated. Mm-hmm. What Frank Brimzak? You could get real nerdy with it. Mike Richter. You know, people forget how good Richter was in his prime. That's not a bad line. I like that. I'm gonna go geek on you. I like that. That's Sweden. Where Sweden would fail, I think, is goal. I think we never got a chance to see what Pelle Lindbergh would be. You remember Pelle Lindbergh for the Flyers, and they got in that accident and everything?
Yeah.
I think maybe that would be Sweden's Achilles heel. I don't know. And then the Finns would frustrate everybody and probably win a bronze medal.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's just what the Finns do, you know?
That's good. That's a fun little contest.
I like that, Shep. That's a nerd. That's a nerd thing that I can work on. Austin here, got to give the Wings their flowers. Nice win versus the Habs. Deadline. The precursor backdoor Olympics teammates talk moves should be fun.
That was a hell of a win, by the way, in Montreal.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah.
John Gibson has been so good. He's won 12 of his last 14 with 3
unbelievable.
Shutouts. What a turnaround. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if it's nerves or what, huh?
Neither do I.
Yeah, but maybe they're playing a little bit better in front of them.
Yeah.
I was thinking about you over the weekend when that happened because, Montreal, as people know, blew out Detroit on opening night 5-1, and Gibson was removed, I think, after 8 shots. And I think he gave up, 3 goals, 3 of the 5 goals. But anyway, I was thinking about this. When do you start to say, I believe in this team? How many games? Sparky Anderson used to say, give me 40 games. I used to, for baseball, for me, I used to say, 60. Okay. Football, I don't know. I mean, to each his own, maybe a quarter of the season, which might be a little early, but maybe a quarter of the season. So the first 4 or 5 games in these days. What would you say for hockey?
I think what has been used in the past is Christmas. A lot of people have used Christmas in the past, and it hasn't been foolproof. I've seen it both ways. The Blues, I know, won a cup. I think they were second to last one year. The Kings won a cup. I know they were last one year. But Christmas is usually the barometer. I guess I would ask somebody, what are you asking in return in regards to, are they legit? Are you saying, could they go win 2-3 series, or are you just saying, are they a playoff team? Because if you're saying they're a playoff team, I shake my head yes. If you're saying they're a team that, you know, could make a legit run, I shake my head no. I
So you
still
need more than just past Christmas. So they're 48 games deep now. Okay.
Yeah.
And they've got the second most points in the East.
Yep.
They've got the second most wins in the East.
Yep.
They've got the second most home wins in the East, or second most home wins in the league, I believe. I'm not saying they're better than Colorado, but if you're 48, this is game 49, I believe. You're 49 games deep. So I know we've been burned before, but that's a pretty good sample size.
Oh, it's huge. I think they're a playoff team, Shep. I really did. And I wasn't so sure at the beginning of the year. I think two things. I don't think they have the quote unquote playoff tenacity and sandpaper. Tonight's a great test against Carolina, because I thought that game last week was ugly, you know, and they kind of went through that span where they had the ugly game against Carolina. They had the two ugly games against Pittsburgh, but were able to steal a point. And quite frankly, they absolutely were larceny. It was pure larceny to take those 2 points from Winnipeg. And then they upped their game. And I think to beat a team like Carolina, who plays so big and so fast in transition, if you can beat them tonight, then you know what you say, you know, even with the games in hand, you say, all right, you went to Montreal and you took care of them. You held on to home ice against Carolina, who I think a lot of people think might be the favorite in the East right now.
They're a heavy team on the puck.
I still don't buy it. I think their goaltending's going to get them again. I really do.
Well, Anderson's numbers aren't very good, but okay.
And Bussy as well. I don't see it. But yeah, we'll wait and see how it goes. I don't think they have that playoff sandpaper. I don't.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong there. I do think, even though he's older, JVR helps him in that regard. And I do believe when you're in this situation, I remind people, this is probably not the team that you're going to see.
Yeah.
Playoffs, if they make the playoffs. I think you make some type of move. Said this about the Pistons too. People said, do you really need to make a move when they're doing what they're doing? I said, I think you do. Well, why do you feel that way? Because I think the other teams that are close to them, Boston, New York, for example, they're going to make a move.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. All right, I got to read a couple of these because you and I have football to watch in a couple minutes. That's why we started a couple minutes early. When it's time to get yourself a house, whether you're buying or selling, oftentimes both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? Lindsay Broadwell. Hold on. There she is. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up in the area. She's expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. When it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house, and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, even first-time buyer. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. And Todd, while we're on it, can I do one more? Because we're going to go watch football in a minute. Let me tell you about the Wealth Advantage Group. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look at those two handsome faces right there. Those are the owners of the Wealth Advantage Group. Over 20 years of industry experience. They understand your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one. If you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to Mike and Jeff at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574. Check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Shep, your thoughts on the NFL? I thought it was a great weekend other than that stinker last night. I know people do it was defense. No, I thought it was crap. But other than that, I thought it was a very exciting weekend.
Yeah, I thought, Matthew Stafford was borderline brilliant with Puka Nacua and his tight ends. What San Francisco has done just blows my mind.
Unbelievable,
I
dude.
mean, for them to lose their top paid 6 players to 60 games total this year and be in this situation and then go into Philly. And you can talk about the drops all you want with A.J. Brown and the fact that Philly dropped 4 passes on 3rd down. That's a factor, of course, but just what Christian McCaffrey has done and, 8 straight playoff games with at least 1 touchdown, which is second most in NFL history. I think it's amazing to me how Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh have been able to keep that team so good for really all season long. Josh Allen with the cape, I thought he was, he got the hell beat out of him and he still came up and asked for more. So, and I don't like the Bears, all right, but damn, 21-3 and you come back. I mean, 158-3 is what teams were when leading by 15 points or more going into the 4th quarter. And the Bears did that. That's some pretty impressive stuff, man.
I don't want to take anything away from the Bears,
but
Matt LaFleur was nearly brain dead down the stretch. He really was. And I think I go to the Shep school. I subscribe to the Shep school of you can't just say fire people and things like that. I thought that was fireable. I'm not going to lie. There was the one possession they took over with 3:05 left.
Yeah.
Had 3 plays and kicked the ball away with like 2:56 left or so, whatever the crap it was.
Like you were in a hurry up. Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. So it's a fine line. Do you play not to lose or do you play to win? Somebody asked me that the other day and I said, well, here's the difference. You play smart to win. And I thought he was, I can't get into his head and say, yeah, I want to shove it down Ben Johnson's throat. I thought he was reckless.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think you have to put so much aside and say, what is the right thing? It may not seem like the tough guy thing to do. It may not seem like the black and blue division thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. Take your time, break the huddle when you're supposed to, run the ball, force them to use their timeouts. I didn't see what they did as efficient and helpful at all.
I'm kind of mad at you because I know what I'm going to be doing while I'm watching this game right now. I'm going to sit down with a pen and paper and write like Team Finland, Team Sweden, Team Czech. That's right. Like Henrik Lundberg.
I'm sure you could do it right now. I mean, you would be able to do that.
Like King Henrik and Pelle Lindbergh and oh my gosh, that's. Yeah, I'm intrigued. Boy, how would you tighten the screws of that?
King Henry would be in goal.
I want to go with. Yeah, I think so. And like Pelle Lindbergh had star written all over him. I mean, he really did. So,
but he wasn't. So
he wasn't. He
can't put
crashed into a library. Look
at this. Jason says, when does McDaniel sign as the OC? I think he's got 4 interviews for head coaching gigs this week. And the funny thing is, I read an article earlier today. Philadelphia. Who's their next offensive coordinator? All the names they mentioned, same names associated with the Lions. So if you're going to get a guy, you better get the right guy, but get him quickly. All right? So if Mike McDaniel's your guy, and he's, what is it? Is it tomorrow, Sean? That's the belief?
Yeah.
That he's going to be with the Lions tomorrow. He's going to leave the building. You're not going to be able to hold him there, all right? Because he wants to interview for head coaching gigs. All you can hope for is that if he doesn't get Atlanta or he doesn't get Cleveland or wherever, that he's at least considering you guys. Considering the amount of talent Detroit has, I'll be honest with you, and I said this last week, I think it's the best job open in the National Football League outside of maybe the New York Giants and the Atlanta Falcons. And I would argue the Giants more than the Falcons.
I think
the Giants is a really attractive job because you got your quarterback, you got a number 1 wide receiver, You got if Scadaboo were healthy, it would be a decent running back. You got a grade A defense. I think. Well, I shouldn't say that. They got a good defense, front four. So that's what I think is one of probably the most attractive openings. But I think the Lions offensive coordinator job, I mean, people could take that and say, I'm going to stay here for 2 years and move on after this and just kill it.
Yep. That's exactly it. Lundqvist, Lindbergh, and Salo. Those are my 3 goalies. How's that?
That's good. That's great, buddy. Good job.
Sorry, that's what I'm
sorry I did this to you.
I know that's what you did to me, Shep. I hope you're proud of yourself, Shep. Really, I hope you're proud. Who do you like in this one tonight before we get out of here?
It's hard to go against Houston, but I don't think Pittsburgh has lost on Monday Night Football since 1992.
Is that crazy? I saw it.
Did you see that? You saw that too?
Nuts.
Yeah. And Houston, I don't think has won on Monday Night Football. So it probably snaps tonight. That Houston defense is the real deal.
Absolutely legit.
Yeah.
Hey, All About Catering LLC, full service caterer, graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. For Rick and his staff, customer service satisfaction, their number one goal. So do not sweat your next big event. Go to allaboutcateringllc.com today. Check out their menus and all their 5-star reviews, or give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Make sure you check out Shep in the morning. Does a great job with Braylon Edwards as well in the afternoon on Woodward Sports. Shep, always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, brother, go get him. I'll talk to you later, man.
God bless you. Thank you, Todd, and thank you, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.